Our players, I told them in the locker room that their competitive nature and their willingness to compete throughout and fight. Early in the week we talked about when two good football teams go against each other, you're going to exchange blows, just like we did last week. They're going to make a play, you're going to make a play, back and forth. And in the end, they made another play, one more than we did. Came up just short on the fourth down. And so you give them credit. They played a good game. They made the last play or the last coach's call, whichever way you want to go with that. Basically an even game, no turnovers. We were down 30 yards in penalties, but we got the 30-plus yards back on returns. So when you look at special team yards and penalty yards, it was pretty even, 332 to 374 yardage. Couple things that stick out to me: 2 for 10 on third down is not good enough to win against a good football team. And obviously, we didn't do a good job today, for whatever reason, of disrupting the quarterback. He got in a rhythm against us and started playing well, and he's done that. There's times people have talked about him not playing as good. You read the media, but when he gets in a groove, like he got in a groove today, we couldn't disrupt him much. In the second half, we didn't get to him and disrupt his rhythm. In my opinion, that was the difference in the game. Everything else is very similar. There just wasn't a lot of difference in the other categories.
Mike, did you think Brennan had made the first down?
I thought he did. It looked like that 51 pulled him over the line, but I mean, there's a lot of plays in the game. I hate to, and I'm probably pretty partial to feeling like he made it. But either way, there was a lot of plays in the game.
Mike, you did a great job, I thought, against their run, but they hit you with a lot of passes.
They did.
Not necessarily big ones, but a lot of 10, 12, 15, especially that last drive. Was that a lack of pass rush that you talked about?
Oh, well, we had some issues with pass rush, and he moved around and dumped it off, and threw it for 3, and 28 ran for probably another 30. It almost looked like in the second half that they just said, forget the run. We're going to try to just run enough to throw passes, and that's what they did. And he got in a rhythm, and like I said earlier, but you'd have to ask them, but that's what it looked like to me.
It seemed similar for you. Your running game got worse the longer the game went, but you stayed in it with a lot of productive pass plays.
Same thing. Both teams have good defenses, and both teams have been good versus a run, and it showed today. Early we were rushing the ball pretty well. Then they slowed us down some, and we started throwing it around, very similar to what they did. It's really pretty even. Again, I just kind of go back to they made the last play.
Was this maybe one of Spencer's better games that he's had this season, do you think, though?
Spencer?
Sanders?
Oh, I thought he played good. Yeah, he was. He made some throws, and I felt like that he played good, and he ran the ball okay at times and scrambled around, made a few plays. Again, without watching the tape, I was pleased from the sideline of how he played.
I mean, the difference in the games, they made their 1 field goal. You missed your 2. Your 2 field goals were 4th and 1 and 4th and 2. Was the lack of the run game what made you think, oh, I better kick it?
Well, I think the 4th and 1 was down tight. The last one, is that correct?
Yeah.
And so it just gave you a chance to. It's hard to not take the lead when you're on the road. It's a fairly easy field goal, and you're on the road, and you got a chance to take the lead. If I do it again, I'd take the lead. I'd kick a field goal. If I knew he was not going to make it, I wouldn't. But if I was in the same situation, I'd do it again.
What type of range would you have been comfortable with on that final drive, knowing he'd missed 2 field goals?
Well, his range was there. The one he missed, he just missed it to the right a little bit, and that was 50-ish. So I'm okay with him from 50.
Were there other options, Mike, considered before the throw to Brennan there at the end? I mean, were there other things you discussed, I think there was a little stoppage before the play. You had a chance to go over some possibilities. You like the call?
Oh yeah, I like the call. Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of ways to look at it, and once the game's over, you know, you start thinking about 4 or 5 different calls,
Right.
and you know, we liked the call, and it was close, came up a little short.
Mike, you've talked about trying to get off to a faster start in the third quarter. Can you diagnose? You only scored once in the third quarter all year. Can you kind of diagnose some issues there? Do you go back to the drawing board or what?
I don't know. We need to try to find a way to play better in the second half. But, you know, the timing of the game, it's hard to really tell. As I think about it, it's hard to tell. Halftime adjustments are the only thing that I could hang my hat on and say that we need to maybe look at a different way to present ourselves with opportunities in the second half. But sitting here right now, I really don't have an answer for you.
You talked a lot about you hadn't protected Sanders well. Looked like you did most of the day.
Mhm.
That one next to last drive, no, but
Yeah.
otherwise it seemed like you protected him pretty well.
It was better today, and they got after us on that drive and got us in long yardage, and sometimes that can happen. You're not playing run, playing pass only, but overall our protection was better today.
Like sometimes games like this come down to the other team just has really good players who play well. You already talked about Brock getting in a rhythm, but they got a great. I mean, we talk about Brees Hall all week, and then you get a kid like Hutchinson. You kind of forget about. He goes out and catches 12 balls, a couple of big ones, and then their defensive end with the back-to-back pressures, right? McDonald coming around the end.
Number 9.
Yeah, I mean you want your players, your biggest players, to play well, and they certainly did.
They have they're a very mature team, and they've got a number of super seniors, and they're a really veteran team. In my opinion, the most veteran team in this league. And so, as I said on Monday, they're playing really good football and much better in the last month than they did to start the year. And I said this, you know, coming into the game, going into this weekend, if you just look at the teams in our league playing together in all 3 phases, they might be playing as good as anybody in our league now. I don't know, it's debatable. But we knew this was going to be a 4-quarter game. We knew this was going to be a tough football game up here.
Did you learn anything about you guys today, or did what you saw, the positives, and maybe even the negatives, you sort of already knew?
You know, Barry, I told them I knew. They compete. They got a big 4th down stop, went down and scored on the road, you know, in the 4th quarter, and took the lead and gave ourselves a chance. They came back and made plays. I'll go back to, you know, Purdy got in a rhythm and was pretty good. And they made plays, and then they stopped us. We punted, we executed really well. We stopped them again at midfield, essentially almost midfield, and that's not easy to do. And then we rallied back to almost midfield, or maybe even midfield, and then just came up a little short. So I think I have a pretty good feel for the team, and I think they showed those qualities today. They made the last play, and we didn't.
What about the way you got Brennan involved today? He seemed more involved and made some big catches.
He did. He made really nice catches today. Both of his touchdowns were fantastic catches. I'd say 2. 2. Both of them were really good catches. And, you know, he's a good football player, and we've talked about trying to get him involved in the game more, and they did a good job of that today.
You say you feel like you know how the team is. How do you think they're going to respond? Obviously, a veteran group, but this is the first time they've experienced a loss this year.
I'm not concerned about them. We also have a number of guys that have been in this situation before, and the locker room is exactly the way that it should be. I had to, you know, get them going a little bit and get them up and around because they're sitting there and they hurt, and that's the feeling you get in college football, right? You put a lot into it, and when you come up a little short, you should feel that way. If you don't, then we have other issues. But I've told them the same thing I tell them every Saturday. Whether it's a celebration or it's a tough loss like this, we have to come to work tomorrow and we have to start preparing for the next game. That's just the way college football is. That's why it's it's the greatest college sport there is, because every game matters. You don't have time to worry about what happened in the last one, good or bad. So I would fully expect the staff and the team to come back to work tomorrow when they come over tomorrow night, and we'll correct our mistakes. And I told them, I said, listen, the coaches have to be very critical of themselves and look at where we made errors, scheme-wise and play call-wise. Players have to do the same where they made mistakes. And then we have to correct those mistakes and move forward. Otherwise, we're not very smart coaches and we're not very smart players, and that makes us not a smart team. So the principle and the culture and the discipline that we live by and the focus is see what you did wrong, all of us, including me, correct it, how can we make it better, and go back to work tomorrow night. But I told them I was proud of them. Sometimes you come up short. It's the way it is. 50% of the teams that play on Saturdays lose. Doesn't mean you're a failure, it just means you came up a little short.
Anything else for Coach?